Right. So Prince of Darkness tells the story of it. Every fucking time, man. The fuck is this? Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, not this motherfucker again. What do you want now? You want me to beat your ass another round of trivia, bitch?
Shut up, bitch. This time, I'm gonna bring the game to you.
Oh yeah? And how's that?
You'll see.
So predictable! What the fuck? Really thought I was gonna fall for that? Now I gotta clean up my fucking green screen. Jesus Christ! Now he's fucking dead. Alright, I gotta get my story straight. The dude broke into my house. He tried to like, motherfucker! Shut up, bitch! Just put in a few Prince of Darkness! So Scream 2 tells the story of our Woodsboro survivors once again being stalked by a masked killer in the Ghostface costume. Welcome back everybody to the Scream review series. I apologize for the delay. For all of you, the 98.5% of you that were extremely patient and understanding, thank you so much for being patient and understanding. For the other 1.5% of you that harassed me and put comments on every single video I've done since Scream asking where this video is, it's here. You happy? So Scream 2. This is a sequel where, for the longest time, I actually preferred this one to the first one. I gave you guys all my reasonings of what bones I had to pick with the original Scream for the longest time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the original Scream review and you'll be caught up. But all the while, whenever I was not the biggest fan of Scream, or just not even a fanatic at this point, whenever I watched Scream 2, to me, it always worked a little bit better. So now that I'm, kind of opening my eyes to this franchise, now I'm actually really enjoying it. Now I've gotten past all those things that used to bother me back when I was a kid. And I really enjoyed the first Scream, gave you guys my review for that. Now you get into Scream 2. Does all of that hold up, or have my thoughts changed on that one as well? So starting off with the positives for Scream 2. Let me just say, for a movie that was rushed literally into production and came out just shy of a year to the date almost of the first Scream, this movie is damn good considering all of that. Because usually, with the exception of maybe the Friday the 13th fans out there screaming at me about the first 4 movies, when a horror franchise just rushes a sequel out to come out the very next holiday, we've seen this recently with Saw and Paranormal Activity, it's usually the kiss of death for the quality of a movie. Not for Scream 2. You get all of your returning cast, you get Courtney Cox, you get Neve Campbell, you get David Arquette, you get Randy, played by the great Jamie Kennedy. All of them are back, and that's one of the things that's always been cool about the Scream franchise, is that you always get the same characters, it's always a different killer. It's not your typical slasher setup where you have a set of teenagers and your titular killer. Then they get, they go through their events of the first movie. He gets resurrected somehow in the second movie. It's the same exact killer, and you have a new cast of characters that are going to be your cannon fodder. Scream is kind of the opposite of that. Your core group of people who are the victims stays the same, and the killer always changes. And in Scream 2, that whole whodunit aspect, once again, really succeeds in this one. And in my opinion, actually succeeds a little bit better as far as trying to figure out who the killer is. Because where in the first one, I thought that the killers were blatantly obvious from the beginning, despite really trying to make them red herrings. In the second movie, I really feel like they did a great job at hiding the identity and keeping you guessing, because they made everybody seem like a suspect. Is it Sidney's boyfriend trying to do the same thing as her past boyfriend? Is it one of the Woodsboro survivors who have been going nuts and now they're trying to bring everything back? Is it one of the random people that just get added into this movie? You never know. Is it Cotton Weary? Is he back for revenge after being stuck in prison and falsely accused and now he wants revenge? You never know. And the whole movie keeps you guessing all the way until those masks come off. And speaking of characters, I actually like the cast of this movie much more. Now, the majority of the cast is all people that have returned, but the additional cast like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Timothy Olyphant, and then you get to see a lot more of Ray Donovan himself, Liev Schreiber. All of those characters really round out this movie a lot better to me than some of the side characters and the victims of the first movie. Maybe with the exception of Matthew Lillard. But this movie, all the characters, even Jerry O'Connell, he's another big one. He's a big piece of entertainment in this, especially his whole Top Gun scene. I love the characters in Scream 2 to a degree that's even more than the first Scream.
Sequels suck. No, come on, man. Oh, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
It's bullshit generalization. Many sequels have surpassed their original.
Oh, yeah?
Name one.
Yeah.
Aliens, far better than the first.
Yeah, well, there's no accounting for taste.
Thank you, Ridley Scott rules. Name another.
No, Aliens is a classic, okay? Get away from her, you bitch.
I believe the line is stay away from her, you bitch. It's film class, right?
And once again, tipping my hat to the genius in some of the writing and the setup with this. Going after like some of the tropes and the cliches regarding horror sequels in Scream 2 feels just as fresh and just as fun and just as ingenious as all the tropes and cliches that they went after in the first movie. So you come into the sequel, and even though it's the same style and they're going for the same kind of laughs and the same references, the fact that they're tackling a different subject within the same genre makes this feel fresh, and it just makes it feel like a sequel that does stand on its own.
Number 1, the body count is always bigger. Number 2, the death scenes are always much more elaborate. More blood, more gore. Carnage, candy. Your core audience just expects it. And number 3, if you want your sequel to become a franchise, never, ever...
How do we find the killer, Randy? That's what I want to know.
Oh, let's look at the suspects.
Also got to give some props to my girl Sidney Prescott, because like I said in the first review, even though Scream is far from my favorite slasher franchise of all time, I think Sidney Prescott probably is the best final girl of all time, because she is just a badass, and even more so in this movie because she's just tired of the victim shit. Whenever you get to the third act, she really starts fucking with the killers. Like whenever she's like, you know, you're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis. Well, what's that? I fucking killed him. And then she just starts beating their ass.
That's what Billy was good at. He knew. It's all about execution.
Yeah. Well, you're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis.
What's that?
I fucking killed him. Piece of shit!
All the way through to the little smart decisions that she makes in the end, kind of tipping its hat to the whole cliche about the killers, always coming back for more, and she just puts a bullet in their head just to make sure, just in case. That is why Sidney Prescott is a badass, and she is just as awesome, if not more, in Scream 2. And you do get tied into her story in this one really well too. I mean, the first one, it's all kind of kids with their own story. Her grief from her mother's death is playing a major part in the first one, but in this one it's more so survivor's guilt to a degree, especially with one of the deaths that I'll be talking about soon in Scream 2. And then you get aspects where she's just kind of trying to move on with her life, and nothing will let her forget it, because there's books, there's movies, Cotton Weary's coming around wanting to do interviews. She just wants to move on, and you invest yourself in her, and you want her to be able to move on, even though you know probably never gonna happen. And while we're talking about characters, I need to give credit where credit is due. Where in the first movie, David Arquette's character really bothered me, the character of Dewey. I thought he was just annoying and like a man-child, even though that's what they were going for. I like his character a lot in Scream 2. He's a lot more mature. I like his attitude. I like how he doesn't, you know, take any shit from Courtney Cox and Gail Weathers' character, and he just calls her out on her bullshit. Much more enjoyable character this time around. And I'll give kudos where a lot of people tend to bash this movie. I think Scream 2 had some balls with killing Randy. Now, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen the movie from fucking 1997, but when Randy dies, it pissed a lot of people off because he is a fan favorite of this franchise, and understandably so.
Fuck you!
The way I look at it, though, maybe it's because I've been detached from the Scream franchise for so long where I didn't really feel emotionally, you know, gutted, no pun intended, whenever he died. But to me, that showed that this movie and the ongoing franchise has stakes.
Stu was a pussy-ass wet rag. And Billy Loomis, what the fuck? Jesus. What a rat-looking, homo-repressed mama's boy. Why not set your goals higher, huh? You want to be one of the big boys? Huh? Manson? Bundy? OJ? Son
You know, you have the three main characters that have survived all the way through, even past the end of the fourth movie. So even when you get a fifth movie, if we ever do, it's never really going to feel like these characters are ever in danger because they always survive. But when you kill the fan favorite character, when you have the balls to do that, to me, that shows stakes. That shows that Ghostface ain't fucking around this time, and that shows the whole thing about anybody's a suspect, anybody can die this time around. To me, it was a smart decision, even though you do lose a little bit of entertainment value with the death of Jamie Kennedy. And for my final positive, I love the third act of this movie. I actually like the killer reveals and how everything plays out and kind of the smarts behind their motivations a little bit more than I do in the first movie. I think that the way everything plays out in the third act of the first movie is awesome, and I really appreciate it nowadays much more than I did back in the day. But Scream 2, the reveal of Timothy Olyphant, not only because I love that fucking actor and I think he's awesome, but the whole thing about him just being a random psychopath that's going to blame the movies because in the courts he knows he's going to be able to win. Such a smart play on how stupid the way that things play out in the justice system in real life.
See, I've got my whole defense planned out. I'm gonna blame the movies. It's pretty cool, huh? It hasn't been done before. You see, this is just the beginning, a prelude to the trial. That's where the real fun is, because these days it's all about the trial. Can't you see it? The effects of cinema violence on society. I'll get Dershowitz or Cochran to represent me. Bob Dole on the witness stand in my defense. Hell, the Christian Coalition will pay my legal fees. It's airtight, Sid.
And then the reveal of Billy Loomis's mother being the whole, puppet master, pulling the strings of Timothy Olyphant's character, Mickey. Another genius reveal and a really surprise because it just kind of ties into the third act and the reveals of the first movie and makes it have even more stakes in the second movie because she's just pissed at the fact that her son got killed, even though he's a fucking whack job. That whole third act, the way it plays out, I love it. I think they did a better job at hiding the characters, and it's more of a surprise, and to me, slightly more of an enjoyable reveal in that third act when those masks start coming off and you have your reveals.
I'm an innocent victim.
You're a psychotic.
Yeah, well, shh.
Now, as far as my negatives, I will say first and foremost right here, right at the top of going into my negative section, I don't think this is my favorite Scream movie anymore. It's a movie that I always preferred until this previous time that I actually rewatched it. I rewatched it twice actually previous to doing this review. And it doesn't hold up quite as well as I remember it holding up. Some aspects of the first Scream I feel like age a little bit better than watching this one for some reason. One of those reasons is that now that I actually appreciate a lot of what the first Scream did, and now that I've kind of consider myself a fan of that first Scream, a lot of the successes of Scream 2 do still remain successes, but they feel like they're watered down slightly just because they're the same successes of the first Scream, and the first Scream got there first, obviously. So this is a movie that does all the same things right, but the effect of, watching them and enjoying the hell out of these successes doesn't feel quite as rewarding as that first movie, just because a year prior to that, you got all of that. It's a movie that it's not quite as revolutionary as that first Scream. Well, that's the easiest way to say it. One aspect of this movie that's always bugged me, and I have an issue with the kills and how gory and how creative they are with the kills throughout this entire franchise. So that's certainly a negative here, is that there's just not as much creativity in the kills and as much splat and as much carnage candy, that one's for you, Mother Mayhem, as you would want in a movie that's playing on the slasher genre. But this movie keeps getting billed, and they talk about it throughout the movie, and even a lot of reviews that I've read about how they up the ante with the kills and they're more elaborate and much more gory. Maybe it's just me, I don't find this movie to be as gory as the first one. To me, just the opening act itself with, Drew Barrymore having her intestines spilling out and her parents seeing it while she's hanging on a fucking tree, just that sequence alone negates that from being a fact of this movie being gorier. There's only one sequence in this movie where gore is really present, and that's when the dude gets the pole shoved through the back of his head whenever the car crashes. And that's a pretty gory scene, but it's just, nothing in this movie is as gory as some of the kills in the franchise, or in the genre of like the 80s slashers that it's playing fun at. So I've never really understood the whole thing about Scream 2 as a gorier, meaner sequel. That's just not true to me. Am I blind? Am I crazy? Tell me in the comment section. That's not as gory to me. And again, we're just subjected to a lot of kills that's just a knife in the back, a knife in the gut, a knife in the face. it kind of gets a little bit dry by the time you get to this movie, and especially the sequels to come, because it's really the same shit. It's just stabs to the stomach, stabs to the back, and just, if we ever do get another Scream movie, that's the one aspect that I'm really gonna hope that they up the ante on, is the creativity in the kills. Because the only creativity you get aside from that in this movie is they stab somebody and then throw them off of a balcony. Now, I will say this too in my negatives, even though I do commend this movie for having the balls to kill Randy, as far as the humor and the entertainment value, this movie does feel front-loaded because all of the humor coming from his character is the most memorable parts of the dialogue. Whenever he's in the film class and he's giving shit to Timothy Oliphant's character, and then even later on at a party, they're still riffing back and forth about what sequels are better than the originals. All that stuff is gold, and as soon as Randy leaves the movie, that humor kind of stops, and it's not really a humorous take on this stuff anymore. It's just kind of a straightforward slasher, which is great, but you do miss those riffs and those little lines and those quips that only Jamie Kennedy can pull off in, you know, the middle or the second half of the movie. So for that sake alone, I think that it does kind of hurt the movie slightly, even though I still commend the fact that they had the balls to do it. And my final negative is honestly just a nitpick. The opening of this movie, while it is clever on the level of the first movie, because it's just going in a different direction with how clever it is and not trying to be quite as scary and shocking as that first movie, there's some logic issues in that opening sequence in that movie theater that always bug the shit out of me. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the whole thing about, and I had the same negative at a scene in the first Scream about the killer hiding in the bathroom stall, just like cerebrally, he knew that the victim he was about to have was going to come to the bathroom and get into the stall adjacent to him. When you have that whole sequence and it's all planned out to where Omar Epps is going to be there, and he just somehow knows that Omar Epps is going to put his ear to the door and then somehow knows the exact fucking spot to stick him in that whole gigantic wall, this much accuracy. And then you have the whole thing about everybody in the movie theater just going wild, throwing popcorn and running around, stabbing each other. Everybody's screaming and yelling through the entire opening act of the movie. What movie premiere has ever been that way? There has never been a theater where they go, fuck it, do what you want, throw shit everywhere, don't sit down, yell the whole time. Nobody cares about the movie. That's not why you came here. You guys just want to fuck our theater auditorium up. So just have a ball. I know what they're getting for with this opening act, and it is clever, but those logic issues always annoy me. Maybe I'm the only one. But all in all, guys, I still enjoy Scream 2 quite a bit. I think it's a damn good sequel. I think that especially for the whole year gap between the time Scream was released and the time Scream 2 was released, it's magnificent how good this movie is. But it's no longer my favorite Scream anymore, honestly. I used to be my favorite. I used to say Scream 2 without even thinking, you know, what's your favorite? Scream 2. Didn't even have to think about it. But now, some things about it just bug me a little bit more than they used to. Some things about it haven't aged quite as well. And now that I appreciate Scream so much, there are some things that Scream succeeds in first that I have to give credit to when you get to Scream 2. It's a redundant success, even though I still enjoy the hell out of it. Still a great sequel. So if you guys are fans of the Scream franchise or fans of slashers, this is definitely one to check out. It's a hell of a lot of fun. A lot of the things you love about the first Scream are going to be just as good, if not maybe slightly better in this one, and some things are going to feel like the first one got there first, but you should definitely add this to your collection, especially if you have the first movie. So when you're done watching this review, get your ass out there, go out and buy it. So what do you guys think of Scream 2? Is this your favorite of the franchise, your least favorite of the franchise? Has it aged well for you? Has it not aged well for you? Do you have the same logic issues that I have? Do you like the fact that they killed Randy, or does it piss you off every single time? Put all of your thoughts on Scream 2 down in the comment section below, and we will talk about it. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you guys want to check out some of my social media links, check the video description below for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spreadshirt for Cody Leach t-shirts and other merchandise, and my my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel, help this channel grow, and get cool exclusive content for patron eyes only, such as Blu-ray digital copy codes that I give away almost every single week to my patrons, and the ability to choose videos for me to do by a patron request. So check all that out, guys. And if you want to check out some more of my reviews, including the first Scream review, you can check all that out by clicking right over here.